Hello everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. If I can just get a thumbs up in the chat. Yep. Hi everybody. I think everybody is here to talk and listen to what exactly is a profile building for top universities abroad. Ideally, we want to discuss today all the aspects you need to prepare yourself for to be able to go to the top university abroad. I hope everybody is looking or planning to go abroad to any of the countries which are available as viable study abroad options. It will be very fruitful and it will help you filter out what are the essential key things you need to do next up if you're planning to study abroad. This is a little bit about my own self. I do have hardcore experience in master's, undergrad, and PhD in the USA. USA is my strong country, but obviously you can ask about all the popular destinations you are looking for to apply for a master's abroad. Okay, so primarily we are considering and covering all of these factors today on the webinar. We want to consider what factors do universities see in general, and specifically what factors do USA considers in a profile, which will help you evaluate if you are a good profile or what do you want to do to amp up your profile in future. Secondly, how to build a profile that gives you an admit. Obviously, every university will be a decent option for you, but it is on what university is the best one for you and what profile building activities you can do to get into a great university. Now, this is just the overview we want to cover today. Please, over the session, before I start, feel free to drop in any of your questions, whether it is the silliest of it or whether it is anything technical. Please feel free to drop them in the chat box and I'll take it up at the end of the session. Okay, if you are a student who's just even thinking about going abroad, the first step you should do is finalizing and shortlisting a destination for yourself. It is very, very important to find out what destination is the most favorable for you. It could be Russia, it could be Ukraine, it could be Mexico. These are some of the not known destinations abroad. That is why you need to filter out the right one for you. You need to filter out the most popular destinations for your own industry, whether it is mechanical, design, engineering, any of it. This is the first filter you should start working on, and this is how you can do profile building activity for yourself. This is just a generic background as to what are the destinations popular for study abroad. You must have heard of USA, Canada, UK, of course, and Australia and Germany as well. Germany is known as the free tuition cost destination, but it does have their own understandings and their own requirements, which I will discuss in future. Okay, after you've gone through understanding what country works out the best for you, you will understand at the end of the session also what country has what benefits to offer. But the first step you do is by shortlisting universities. I see many of the times that students go with the reputation of the university first, and then they see the field of interest. It is very important to first find out your interest area as to which field do you specialize in and what do you want to master into. When you're looking at a master's degree, you want to master a specialization or you want to master a degree. That is the whole idea about doing a master's. So filter out your field of interest, then go towards the reputation of the university, refer to rankings online, any websites which are available. I would suggest for US to feel free to go to US News. For generic, you can refer to QS News. These are the most reliable ranking websites for popular countries, but there are country-wise ranking websites available. Location and cost are two most important factors students miss out on. It is important to figure out the location. After you've decided a country, also figure out the internal location, whether it is UK. Do you have relatives in London? Do you have relatives in Wales? Do you have relatives in York? You can figure out location perspectives as per the country and the civility you want to be in. It's important to build your network where you know people. Cost is a criteria. You should always talk to your parents or figure out it on your own as to how much money do you want to shell out and how much ROI are you expecting out of doing a master's. Every country will look at scholarship opportunities differently. So again, coming to the first step, select a destination for yourself. That's how you'll be able to tap scholarships up accordingly. I'm sure 100% all the countries have their own merits and criteria differently for a scholarship. Placement opportunities, the key is building your LinkedIn profile and building your network. Obviously, it is completely vice versa as to how placement happens in India than abroad. Abroad is only your networking and only the value of your degree, the relevancy of your skills. So it is very important to tap how good are placement opportunities in the university you want to shortlist. Going forward, this is the main agenda for the day, which I would want any of the person or any of people who are actually planning to go abroad or are in the process of applying or shortlisting, any of the junction you are at, profile building has to be the first thing you want to tap to. Okay. Three main factors are what universities look into, whether it is a MS, whether it is a MBA, whether it is PhD. These are the three generic as basic criteria which universities look into. Your test scores may include GMAT, GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, whichever is relevant to you for your master's. For undergrad, SAT, your IELTS, all of the test scores. Your academics, meaning your academic projects and your CGPA. Your CGPA can be in the form of percentage, GPA, any of it, but it is important. It is a criteria. And then the part of the profile is your projects, your internships, if you have relevant work experience to yourself or not. If you have relevant, how do you present it to the universities? So this is the criteria which is overlooked or which is seen by any university abroad. Okay. If you are looking at any of the top-notch countries which are something you want to tap to, this is an idea you should always have in mind. USA always takes a profilistic approach. USA is a country which will not only just outweigh your academics or will just see your test scores. USA will see you as a complete profile. It will see you as a bunch of activities, as a bunch of good points and bad points. It is a highlight which I want to give to aspirants who want to study abroad, that Canada and Germany are countries which are very, very inclined towards your academics. They have a limit of a particular CGPA which they want to tap in any university. It differs from university to university, but they are inclined towards having a higher CGPA. So for somebody who's revolving around a 6.5 or a 50% or a 60% in your undergrad, it is not favorable to apply to these countries. This is some more knowledge the countries available to you to apply abroad. Canada only focuses on, I'll go country by country. Canada only focuses on academics, and if you have backlogs, that's a more worse scenario to be in. If you have research papers, that's a great scenario to be in. Canada is a research-oriented, is a country which requires a bit of thesis-based inclination. Now, if you look at, contrary to Canada, if you look at Australia, if you look at UK, if you look at Germany, they are slightly less inclined. Germany is similar to Canada, but UK and Australia, they majorly focus on your English language requirements. They want you to have a good English language course. Now, What I mean by English language is having a good score in IELTS or TOEFL, or if you are somebody who's graduated from a international board, your English language course will be required. Australia is a country which values work experience to the most. So even if it's an MBA program, even if it's an engineering program, they want some kind of work experience on your profile. Okay, I will come back. I will come again and again reiterate this to everybody who's listening to me today. While you plan your study abroad journey, the first step is deciding your destination. The second step is deciding and sitting with yourself and deciding what are the quantitative factors and what are the qualitative factors. Quantitative factors are your numbers, your CGPA, your test scores, and your how many years of work experience do you have. Whereas your qualitative factors are, if you are a research person, do you have any research papers? Are they published at a national level? Are they published at a normal level? Are they personal? What quality of research or work experience is it that you hold? And your letter of recommendations. So sit down with yourself and try to analyze what are the strong points you have for yourself, and then outweigh yourself. My quantitative factors are better than my qualitative factors. And then work on the factor which is weaker. So despite the destination you select, obviously some countries have some preference, but universities abroad are taking up a holistic approach. It is a myth which everybody carries that if my CGPA is low, I will not get into a good university. I will not be able to target a decent university. No. If you are outweighing yourself in all the other factors, you have decent chance. It's quite contrary to how we work in India. Universities abroad want to see a holistic approach. When it comes to your profile, this is something I want to, this is adding to what the last slide was on, that no single factor will outweigh the rest of the factors. Your profile is a package of everything you want to present. So the individual parts won't weigh more than a complete package of your profile, which is well balanced in numbers, in experience, and in the relevancy of your interest area. If you are planning to enhance your profile, these are some of the factors you should surely note down and work on. See what you don't have in your profile and start working on them. Engage in relevant projects. Put up publications if you are somebody who are research oriented. Even if you are not somebody who's interested in research, having one paper will show analytical skills that are able to conduct a research and you're able to do preliminary research for anything needed. Obviously, in India, we do have dissertations in any undergrad degree, if you see. So that is not adding value, but good to have one publication on your profile. If you are somebody who is currently in your undergrad, internships are a must. Not as a necessity that if you don't have internships, you'll not get into a good university, but I would suggest it for overall growth and for a holistic profile. You should do 2-3 internships all across your undergrad duration for sure. Let's talk about online courses and certifications. Lockdown has made so many online courses and certifications so popular that everybody has been doing it. Now, what's the way out to win in this? Figure out a course which is advanced level, which is not basic level, and do a course which you haven't done at all, and it is making you teach some element which is relevant to your masters and upping your skills. Only then do an online course. Don't just do an online course randomly for the sake of doing it. Now, obviously, relevant work experience is not something which is mandatory. Not all universities require it, but it is a personal opinion and a trend which I have seen all across through my experience over the years, that when you have relevant work experience, you are making sense of what your master is and how and why do you want to do a master's. So it's very crucial to have work experience, but it's not a mandatory requirement. I am going to talk about past students from now on after this slide. to help you understand elements if you are missing out on, and how and what countries see through it. You must have heard of this university, Cornell University. It's a Ivy League in the US. Despite the course selection, Cornell is a university which inspires students to pursue research, and it is for somebody who has clarity in what they want to do. They want to see in the applications that you have self-motivated intentions to pursue your degree. It is something they are wanting to see in your documents, in your SOP, in your LORs, and it's slightly difficult to get into. And if you are somebody who wants to defend on opportunities which are oriented to research or which are oriented to a holistic point of view, you should look into this university. Some examples of profiles. I will discuss one or two profiles in detail, and then I will just give you an overview. For example, Smriti, she was a ECE graduate. If you see, her CGPA is great, her GRE is great, her TOEFL is great. What Cornell needed her to reflect on was her dedication. That's how she got into Cornell. Her SOP was clear cut from day one as to what she wanted to do. She was strict and clear about her pursuing an ECE degree with a particular specialization. That is what bagged her a good admit. Sweetie was a chemical engineering aspirant, and she has got into Cornell with these credentials. If you see, the TOEFL and GRE are a little bit not appearing to be 100 score, but her CGPA and her SOP leveraged the documents and got her into an Ivy League. UIUC is one more university which is widely reputed in the US. It is a university you want to go to if you want any kind of professional experience. They do have great research opportunities also at any degree, at any course, but it is mostly reputed for masters in information systems, masters in computer science. These are some of the profiles which got into UIUC. I think this is a problem. UIUC MIS program is much more popular, and these are the profiles. If you see the quantitative parts of it, qualitative parts of it, Karan had 2 years of work experience and Soumya had 1 year of relevant work experience on their profiles. Talking about Carnegie Mellon, it is a dream university for many students abroad. It is highly expensive, but its acceptance rate is also much more higher. And they say that Carnegie Mellon has 90% placement rate with a great ROI in the US. Now, Carnegie Mellon is very peculiar about GPA, and it's difficult to get into. If you see the credentials of Apurva, her CGPA is 9.5. If you even have an 8.5 and you want to think about applying to Carnegie Mellon, it's slightly difficult. GRE and TOEFL is also great, and Apurva had relevant work experience as well. Obviously, at Carnegie Mellon, the undergrad university also slightly plays a role, where they do see what undergrad university you have graduated from. Coming out of US, coming to Australia. Australia is a country which is holistically inclined towards accounting and IT related fields, and MBAs are very popular. But these are the top 8 universities. It's called as the G8 set of universities in the Australia. Like how USA has Ivy League, UK has Russell Group, Australia has the top G8 universities. Now, ANU is one of the most popular Australian national universities, one of the most popular universities in Australia. It has a strict requirement for the GPA. They want a particular standard requirement of an Indian CGPA. They have a complete conversion rate mentioned on their website, which you should go and see, irrespective of what course you are applying to. But it's a well-reputed university and it has global employability. Even if you graduate from ANU and try to find jobs all across the world. If you see, the Anubhav's CGPA is 7.3. It's not a 9-pointer. Like I said, Australia does not want you to have a high CGPA to get into an admit, but they want a set criteria upper limit, and that is different from university to university. Obviously, it is some universities in Australia need GRE, some universities don't need it, and it is also depending on your course. So you have to filter it out when you shortlist. Talking about the most popular destination these days, Germany. I already mentioned that the CGPA is a criteria. It wants, if you want in any of the TU9 universities, the top level or the top arcade of German universities, you have to have a good CGPA. Another thing about Germany is they don't really propagate change of majors. So for example, if you are from an electrical background and you want to shift to computer science, you should not look at Germany as a country. It's not so favorable. Or for example, if you are from a design background and you want to shift to human computer interaction, it's slightly not favorable for Germany. I'll share some profiles which got into top German universities. RWTH is one of the most popular universities in Germany. It requires you to have certain courses in your bachelor's degree, which should be relevant to your master's degree. If you don't have those courses, you could land up with a rejection, and they don't favor gaps on your profile. They favor not to have 1+ year of gap on your profile. These are the profiles which got into RWTH. Obviously, the CGPA is a little bit not above 9, but you need to have a holistic profile, and the average limit will be a 7.5 pointer for any German university. Okay, coming to UK, you should target applying to the Russell Group universities. All 4 of them are Russell Group universities. They are the most popular ones in the UK. Anybody who thinks about UK knows these universities, and its employability options are great. UK has also started the graduate route. So for anybody who is willing to apply to UK, now like USA, you can stay in the country for 2 more years to find a job for yourself. Okay, we have Netherlands coming up, university. So Germany and Netherlands go parallel. Netherlands has an area of expertise in robotics, in sustainable energy, and in renewable energy. These are the courses which are very popular for Netherlands. TU Delft is one of the most popular universities in Netherlands. TU Delft has a high CGPA criteria. An Indian CGPA of 75+ is needed, and TU Delft wants your SOP and LORs to strongly reflect on why do you want to do a particular master's. If you have research in your experience, TU Delft will value it. These are some of the profiles which got into TU Delft. Kalal got into TU Delft with a civil engineering background, and he went on to do civil engineering only. TU Delft required him to justify why he wanted to do civil engineering with a special, apart from an SOP, they wanted a letter of intent and letter of motivation as well to justify his area of interest in civil engineering itself. Ravi and Ratish both had relevant work experience, which added value to their profile. They are currently studying at TU Delft. Okay, we're coming to the top destination abroad, Canada. Day by day, Canada becomes a favorable study abroad destination for everybody, but it is a suggestion. Only if you are willing to settle down and you are not looking at a particular master's degree, you should go for the diploma. Otherwise, you should only and only look at universities. Universities ka masters is what values more and is which will get a good ROI in future. Or when you graduate from universities in Canada is what stands a long-term return. These are some of the top universities in Canada. And mind I say you, Canada has a few number of universities. Universities are not in abundance like US, where you have 150 plus options. And I mentioned this in past, I will mention it again. All of the universities have a set criteria for CGPA in Canada. Sharing some profiles which got into good universities in Canada. Talking about Waterloo, which is every student's aspirant university who want to go to Canada. It is difficult to get into Waterloo, but they are looking at your profile to be some background of STEM. So they are wanting students to come from science or engineering or mathematics background. And it is one of the most competitive universities to get into, but they have great co-op opportunities, which helps you cover up your master's cost within the time frame of your master's finishing. Sony got into Waterloo in an M Engineering electrical degree. M Engineering meaning a research-based degree, and her credentials were great, and her work experience was just of 1 year, but it was hardcore embedded systems work experience, which helped her get into the university. And she also had 2 research papers. UBC is another popular criteria, another popular university. UBC is a university which has 2 pages of content on their own website as to how to draft an SOP. So if you are anybody who's applying to UBC, your SOP should be up to the mark. They are looking at your SOP strictly to the best capacity. UBC popular courses are their MBA and their computer science program and their mechanical engineering degree. So Charles got into UBC. You can see the credentials. The CGPA is great. The GRE is amazing. UBC wants to see your quantitative aspect, and they want to upload your GRE if you have given it. Not all universities in Canada want the GRE to be given. Okay. Columbia, we've come back to US. What I want to share about Columbia and these particular profiles is Columbia, the industries are psychology, engineering, computer science, and literature. Columbia is very popular for these all universities, but being in the hub of New York, Columbia has abundance reputation, and Columbia has abundance opportunities with respect to postmaster's plan, but you need to have certain set of credentials to get into a good university like Columbia. Columbia wants work experience, and they want work experience which is relevant to your master's degree. They slightly value it is what we have seen the trends to be. But even if you don't have it, present a holistic profile and there are decent chances. Okay, that's all from my side for the day. I would want everybody to pour in their questions despite of the course, the country, the background. Please feel free to let me know. I can see some questions. I'll take it ahead. Okay. The question from Yash is, what about Singapore and Hong Kong? That's a great question, Yash. Hong Kong is still not a popular study abroad destination. It does have a few universities which are very, very popular for IT, but it is not so much of a favorable destination. You need to learn the language, one. Singapore is a global country. Yes, definitely a popular destination abroad, but Singapore has 3 universities which are popular: Nanyang, NTU, and one more business school which I can't recollect the name of. But the 3 options stand to the best capacity. Apart from them, if you get into any other university, you are a little bit restricting your options post-masters. But yes, Singapore is definitely a good country to be in. Shivam says, give some information about engineering universities like US like Georgia Tech, etc. Shivam, any particular university you want me to target about engineering universities? Georgia Tech, of course, is the most popular university. Georgia Tech, if you're planning to apply to, maintain your CGPA to a level of 8, 8.5 and get one research paper at least. Georgia Tech has a great amount of labs, and they're looking for people to get into RA or TA-ship. Engineering universities, best ones, Georgia Tech, Columbia, Maryland College Park, Wisconsin-Madison, all of these are some good universities you want to start looking at if you are planning to apply for any engineering background. Masters in UK is a good option for business background student. I'll take it one by one. Yes, Masters in UK is a good option for a business background student. Number one, the MBAs are of just 1 year if you're planning for an MBA. It leverages you to stay out of work experience just for a small amount of time. You're getting done with a master's degree earlier, and the reputation is still the same. Many people have the myth that if you are doing a 1 year MBA, it is not valuating to the 2 year MBA, which are generally across other countries. But no, it is of the same value. If you're graduating from London Business School doing an MBA, you are in a good place. Placement opportunities in the UK. I was slightly dicey about the opportunities because with the Brexit and with the employment opportunities becoming slightly dicey, it was not a favorable option, but I am seeing great future for UK in the similar domain. They have opened up graduate route. They are looking for skilled professionals, which we Indians are very good at. So I would highly suggest for everybody to consider UK as a great option. Australia or abroad in general during COVID. Okay, I got the question now. COVID is slightly picking up, but if you're planning your master's right now, you will graduate in 1 more year. The situation will be a little bit better, but definitely tap it because you have now in both Australia and UK 2 years stay back. Australia is a little bit strict on COVID requirements. They still haven't opened up to international students. So that is one factor you should consider. They are very, very strict about COVID requirements. How do we compare studying a course in India versus abroad? You can consider it at a factor which is vast, not just one factor to compare, but compare whether you are getting the curriculum which is provided in India versus abroad. But why do students go abroad? For the exposure, for the culture, for the diversity, for the experience. That is what a master's degree abroad is all about. Apart from the curriculum and the academic, that is what teaches you to be a global person, which is the need of the hour. So obviously studying abroad is an option, but weigh your options. Do you have that kind of money? Do you have that kind of liberty to go abroad? If you want to compare the course, very much compare the curriculum level, because we are a developing nation and you are going to a developed nation to study. So that difference will come across. Which exam do we have to prepare for? That depends on the course you are targeting. I will just highlight it. GMAT is needed for business background courses, MBA, MS in marketing, MS in international businesses. GRE is needed for engineering schools, computer science, mechanical, civil, all the engineering, IT. Now, most universities allow both GMAT and GRE, but the structure of the exams is accordingly. In any country abroad, TOEFL or IELTS is fine. You can give both of them. Obviously, some countries prefer, like Canada prefers IELTS, UK prefer IELTS. So select your destination and country and then decide what test do you want to give. Best places to study in Japan. Best places to study is not the right question, but I would say best course is the right question. Japan all across is a great developed nation to become across, but IT is what you want to tap, and they are slightly not immigrant friendly to be. It's a little bit difficult. You need to learn the language. You need to learn everything you want to do. So keep that in mind if you're targeting Japan. Hi Yash, that's a very, very good question. Why is it that the examples you give from engineering background? So Yocket has most of the people coming from engineering background. Our pool of 1,000+ applicants are from engineering background, and those are the examples which we had and we presented. But that's a great suggestion. I would put in for sure holistic profiles for you guys to understand next time. You want any other field for me to answer right now? I will very happily do that. Biraj has the question, as nowadays CGPA is very much high, like 9. So what would be the CGPA for studying abroad like USA? Yes, that's a great question. What is the CGPA criteria this year? It was high above the roof. It really was high above the roof. Because of the vast exposure of applicants, people saw a crunch in the kind of profiles. Universities got options to compare because the applicant pool was much higher. Try your best. Try to bring how much CGPA you can. USA still will look at a holistic picture, and it will give you the idea about whether you are fitting it in the university or not. But 8.5 is the maximum you should target when you are in your undergrad to become in a better place while you are applying abroad. Best university in Japan depends on the field you want to apply to. Not great business schools for sure, but Osaka, Kyoto University, University of Tokyo in middle of Tokyo, it's a great option to target. The others are slightly okayish, but yeah, some of these are the good options. Tokyo Institute of Technology is also a good one. You need to learn the language for sure. Arjun, can you suggest how to begin with projects? Yes, for sure. Let's take an example of a marketing degree. If you are somebody who wants to do an MS in marketing and you are in your undergrads right now, you want to take up your final year projects, which is involving any market research, which is in the domain of marketing. It can be digital, it can be SEO, it can be any kind of field of marketing, but decide a topic where you can put in extensive research, and the project has to be up to date to the current market. If you take up a topic which is out of field and it is outdated, don't work on such a project. On the contrary, this is a good question. If you are a working professional and you have multiple projects you can work on, try to find out relevant projects to your master's degree at work. So if you are an engineer and you are wanting to do a degree in cyber law or cyber security or hacking, try to take up projects in the work experience domain in this particular industry. So that's how you will have relevant projects, Arjun. Any more questions? Please bring in, guys. I will be happy to answer them. How many years of work experience is good for study abroad? That's a great question. We have people who don't have any work experience and they apply for masters, but 1.5 to 2 years of work experience for any average masters, like an MS. And if you are applying for an MBA, 5 to 6 years of average work experience. Any more questions? Team, if you can help me, are there any more questions or that's the last one I can see?
No, ma'am. I guess this is all. Okay. So thank you so much, ma'am, for the insightful session.
Thank you, everybody. If you can please connect with Yocket for any other further assistance. We not just do engineering, but all kinds of domain, whether it is MBA, undergrad, any kind of field.